Hello everybody. Today I want to share with you something really cool and really special. I want to share with you a documentary on the butterflies of South Africa, which is the first of its kind. And it was a massive project for me that took 7 years to make. One of the highlights of making this documentary was receiving the acknowledgement of the movie and its progress from the famous Sir David Attenborough. It was an absolutely magnificent experience to receive a handwritten letter in the post from Sir David Attenborough acknowledging the movie. My interest in butterflies started when I was 10 years old, and this came with an interest of birds and butterflies and mammals and reptiles and amphibians and fish and practically everything that moved out there. And I didn't know enough about my insects and my plants. When I was about 10, I was already been collecting insects, and I decided that I was going to kind of target a few of the specific butterfly species that I'd seen in the field guide books, and went out there and looked for them and just sort of developed an interest in the thrill of the chase. So evolved a sort of lifelong passion and hobby to collect and to learn about butterflies. Concurrent with my guiding experience and my career in guiding and educating people on wildlife, I have a filming business, a small filming business, where we document people's experiences in Africa. And I wanted to marry these two things together, the knowledge and the experience that I had on butterflies and sharing them with people and educating people, and the filming business. And in about 2010 or 2011, I decided that one of the ways that I could contribute back to conservation was to produce a documentary, a really cool documentary, inspired by all the ones that I watch on TV, like the BBC series, various BBC series and the old Nat Geo series that were out there, and the awesome footage that's in those, and produce a documentary to teach people about butterflies of Southern Africa. And so a 7-year project started, and I would spend many days out in the field, either collecting and filming, or whilst I was on safari, filming opportunities where there was specific things that were happening by chance, and in the various destinations that I got to travel. And once I'd accumulated most of my stock footage over all the years, there were specifics that were important and relevant to the life histories of butterflies, which were obviously really difficult scenes to get. The life history of butterflies was quite easy to do. I was breeding a lot of butterflies at that point. I had a lot of larval host plants at home or in the field that I would use. But some of the stuff like parasitism and anti-association with butterflies and ants was really challenging and really difficult scenes to get. But I got them. And with a lot of hard work and a lot of hours, a lot of effort, and 7 years, and I can't remember all the stats and figures of what went into making this movie, for filming and for editing, and practically did it all myself, and just experimented as I went along the way. And I had a little bit of guidance from some friends in the butterfly world and the filming world as well. And in 2017, finally produced a really cool 42-minute long documentary on the butterflies of South Africa. A production like this comes at quite a cost, and I found it a little bit difficult to get on with this on my own, and I had the amazing support of some of my safari guests from the United States of America contributing towards the various factors of this documentary. So to them, I really appreciate your support, and thank you very much for believing in the project. So the documentary that I produced is kind of based on two parts. The first half of the documentary, the first sort of 20 minutes odd, is based on butterfly, life history, and ecology. It's teaching people about what butterflies are and what their lives involve. It answers a lot of the questions that I know as a guide. I've been asked over 30 odd years that I've been doing butterflies. There's some really common questions that come up all the time. So those are the type of questions that I really want to answer in there. For example, the difference between butterflies and moths, and how long they live, and the stages of their life cycle, etc. So that is all covered in pretty detailed information and footage in the documentary, and including parasitism and wasps laying eggs into caterpillars, how the ant associations work on the most of the little lycaenids that utilize ants in their life cycle, which is unbelievably fascinating. So the documentary will show you all of this in an audio-visual format. The second half of the documentary I've broken down into basic identification. So what that does is it's going to take each of the butterfly families, break down some of the common characteristics that are within each of the families or subfamilies, so that you can use that information to then go to a field guide and navigate your way around the field guide. I'm not going to show you every species out there, that's kind of an overload of information, but I'll show you some of the more common species of butterflies in Southern Africa, some of the more familiar ones that you'll see in your wanderings, and then some that have sort of got characteristics of the family in there. But I think we've got over 110 species of butterflies shown in this movie, some really amazing butterflies, from some of the most common to some of the most rare, to some butterflies that have never been caught on camera before. So without giving you too much more information, I'd love you to sit back and enjoy this 42-minute long documentary in high definition on the butterflies of Southern Africa.
Rays of morning sunshine reveal flashes of brilliant yet fragile colour in an awakening forest. Resting overnight beneath leaves and against the bark of trees, the most popular and celebrated creatures in the diverse insect world, butterflies, prepare to take flight. From coastal forests to the highest Drakensberg Mountains, South Africa is home to nearly 700 beautiful and often endemic butterfly species. A large diversity of unique habitats and vegetation types provides sanctuary to many rare and very specialized butterflies. Some only exist at very specific and restricted locations, which meet all their complex ecological requirements. Moths and butterflies are grouped into an order termed Lepidoptera, meaning scaly wings, so named for the thousands of tiny overlapping scales which cover their wings, providing distinctive patterns and colour. The head has two compound eyes, two sensory antennae used for smell and balance, and a tube-like tongue called a proboscis used to suck up liquid food. Behind the head, 3 pairs of legs and 2 pairs of wings attach to the thorax, where a simple heart, digestive tube and respiratory system are suspended in blood. The abdomen houses the reproductive organs. The resurgence of plant growth during spring is often associated with a first brood of adult butterflies emerging to mate and lay eggs. A second and particularly strong adult brood may emerge again in the late summer months of February to May. Some common butterflies have multiple broods throughout the year, whereas some specialized species only have a single short flight period lasting a couple of weeks. The lifespan of an adult butterfly can vary greatly. If successful in evading numerous predators and threats, some species can live for months, whilst others only live for a few days. The differences between butterflies and moths are very general, with many exceptions on both sides. Typically, butterflies have day flying habits, long club-shaped antennae, and rest with their wings closed above their backs. Moths are mostly nocturnal, at rest with their wings dropped flat, or even wrapped alongside their bodies. There are, however, many species of moths that fly during daylight hours. Not all moths are brown. Some are brightly coloured, exhibiting warning colours to discourage predators. Moth antennae appear feathered or straight. Absent in butterflies, moths have a unique wing coupling hook that links the fore and hind wings together. Being cold-blooded, butterflies tend to remain inactive during cooler and cloudy weather conditions. They utilize the sun's energy to warm their wing muscles in preparation for flight. Males will position themselves to survey their surroundings, to chase rival males, and maximize their chances of finding a mate. The movements of females are less predictable, as they randomly fly in search of suitable larval host plants. This male butterfly is known as the diadem, but for obvious reasons, the completely different female is known as the mimic. She is a very close mimic of the toxic African monarch. In many species, the females mimic other distasteful butterflies to avoid predation as a form of self-protection due to their important role in reproduction. Butterflies have a complex life cycle consisting of 4 unique phases, which represents a fascinating complete metamorphosis or change of shape. Males will usually display around a female in an effort to stimulate a mating response. After having successfully mated, female butterflies use taste receptors on their feet to carefully select a location on a suitable host plant onto which they lay their eggs. Eggs are laid either singly or in groups onto leaves, stems, buds, and bark. A few days later, the dark form of the developing caterpillar can be seen moving inside the clear eggshell. After cutting its way and wriggling free, the tiny caterpillar proceeds to eat the eggshell, providing essential nutrients needed for survival. To develop a powerful flying machine, caterpillars must consume as much fat, protein and carbohydrates from the leaves of their host plants as possible. Developing rapidly through 4 or 5 stages of growth called instars, new skin grows and is shed repeatedly to accommodate the fast-growing caterpillar. Butterfly caterpillars are generally hairless, but often exhibit spikes, spines, and bizarre head shields. Caterpillars belonging to moths are extremely variable, some being hairy whilst others are smooth. No butterfly caterpillars are hairy. Caterpillars of the swallowtail family have foul-smelling projections to deter predators. The life of a butterfly caterpillar is not easy. Most do not escape the attention of their numerous enemies on the lookout for an easy meal. A major threat to the slow-moving caterpillars are a variety of parasitic wasps, which search out and inject their eggs into helpless caterpillars. Without immediately destroying the host's vital organs, the growing wasp larvae feed on the helpless caterpillar from the inside. Chewing their way out of the now immobilized caterpillar host, the wasp larva spins a silken pupa where it develops into a winged adult. The caterpillars of the beautiful Moy River opal butterflies develop special glands that secrete a nectar-like substance to attract ants. The ants milk secretions from the caterpillars by tickling these special glands on the caterpillars with their antennae. This secretion changes the chemistry of the worker ants' brains, causing them to abandon their colonies and protect the caterpillar from threats instead. Once the caterpillar has sufficient energy stored, it will stop feeding and look for a suitable sheltered place on vegetation, rocks, or underground to spin a silken pad and pupate. Some hang vertically, whilst others support themselves with a silken girdle around the thorax. By slowly tearing the softened outer skin behind the neck segment, the newly formed pupa wriggles out and discards the soft caterpillar skin. Over time, the shell hardens, and a complete cellular breakdown and reorganization transforms the caterpillar into a butterfly. This motionless stage may last a week to a year or more, waiting for optimal environmental conditions. Caterpillars of the familiar citrus swallowtail pupate under a log, developing colours that will camouflage them with their surroundings to avoid detection. Seasonal temperature changes experienced during the larval and pupal development stage may result in different forms of the same species. The summer or wet season form of the Gaudy commodore is dominantly a bright red colour, whilst the winter or dry season form is glossy blue in colour. Here, both forms can be seen mating together. Interestingly, in the superbly adapted dry leaf commodore, it is the shape of the wings that changes between seasonal forms. Before emerging, the butterfly's features are visible through the clear casing. With a few pulses, the pupa case cracks open. The antennae and split tongue uncoil and extend for the first time as it uses its legs to pull itself clear of the pupal shell. The butterfly hangs suspended, swaying slowly from side to side, ensuring no obstructions hinder the important drying process. Pumping body fluids through veins into the soft folded wings, they slowly stretch out and become rigid. Once rested, and the wings have hardened completely, the butterfly is ready for its maiden flight. Warmer temperatures influence the development of this summer or wet season form of the common garden inspector. A deformed wing seals the fate of an unfortunate new swordtail. South Africa's butterflies are classified into 5 major family groups. The extensive family, known as brush-footed butterflies, appear to only have 4 legs. With no walking function, the front pair of legs are reduced and used more as sensory organs. The brush-footed butterflies can be further divided into characteristic subfamilies. The distasteful and even toxic monarchs exhibit warning colours of red, yellow and black, and act as popular mimicry models for many other species. Adult male African monarch butterflies absorb toxins from various nectar plants and transfer these to the female through mating, making all adults unpalatable to predators. Superbly camouflaged, the browns are generally very dull-coloured butterflies. They occur from grasslands to well-wooded habitats and are readily attracted to fermenting fruits and oozing tree sap. The motionless twilight brown blends perfectly into the forest leaf litter. Utilising a variety of grass species as caterpillar host plants, the eggs are usually dropped in mid-flight into the grass. Browns are commonly seen feeding on flower nectar. Many of the preferred host plant species of the Acrea subfamily contain toxins, which make the larvae and adult butterflies poisonous to predators. The bright coloration of the adults announces their distastefulness to would-be predators, and some species are mimicked by less noxious butterflies. Some adult acreas are even able to produce their own toxins. With transparent forewings, the garden acrea is a familiar sight in South African gardens. It breeds on the wild peach tree, and cuckoo species favour feeding on their numerous caterpillars. The male blood red acrea is brightly coloured, whilst the female is yet another superb mimic of the distasteful African monarch. Caraxes are a powerful, heavy-bodied group of butterflies. Fast and high-flying, they are difficult to observe, but easily attracted to other non-nectar sources of nutrients, such as rotting fruits, carrion, animal droppings, and sap. Caraxes frequent sunny forest openings and glades, where they rest with open or partly open wings, closing them when alerted, revealing the cryptic underwing markings. A gliding flight pattern, broken by a few short wing beats, is characteristic of the nymphs, gliders, sailors, and foresters group. Two spotted jokers show aggressive behaviour as they compete for a nectar source. The forest glider descends from the forest canopy to feed on flowers or to drink at water. The blue, the yellow, and the eyed pansies are vividly marked, settling often at water or flowers. The beautiful painted lady is the most widespread butterfly in the world. Butterflies get most of their nutrition requirements from flower nectar. Nectar is rich in sugar, but lacks some important nutrients the butterflies need for reproduction. By sipping moisture from mud puddles, male butterflies take in salts and minerals from the soil. Through mating, these nutrients are transferred to females to improve the viability of the eggs. Tree sap is another source of nutrition for many species. The unique African snout butterfly is the only representative of the snout subfamily in South Africa. The blues are the largest family of butterflies in the world and represented by the smallest butterflies. Almost 400 species with descriptive names such as coppers, opals, sapphires, hair streaks, scarlets and playboys occur in South Africa. fine tail hairs and false eyes on the hindwings draw a predator's attention. Rather lose some of your wing than your head. The Amakosa and Natal rock-sitters are masters of disguise, almost invisible when settled on rocks. Eggs are laid directly onto rocks, and the tiny larvae feed on the algal component of the lichen. The adult common buff butterfly feeds on secretions made by sap-sucking plant lice and other butterfly caterpillars. With no proboscis, adult scollies never feed and survive for a short while off of nutrients stored from the caterpillar stage. An aptly named woolly legs blue feeds from secretions made by plant lice. Their caterpillars are carnivorous, feeding on the tiny plant lice. Another major butterfly family is generally referred to as whites and can often be seen mud puddling in large numbers. Common colours are white, yellow, black and orange, with some species having iridescent coloured wingtips. The brown-veined white is a common butterfly, well known for its annual easterly migration across South Africa, a movement triggered by overcrowding and competition for host plant species in the arid western regions. In a dry environment, these butterflies are getting rare moisture from rhino droppings. The fourth major family comprises the largest butterflies in the region. With a wingspan up to 15 centimeters, the emperor swallowtail is South Africa's biggest butterfly. The emperor swallowtail floats majestically, patrolling forest roads, rivers and clearings. Swallowtails are fond of blue and red flowers and can often be seen mud puddling at patches of water in the forest. The white stripe on the underside of the male's hindwing is a subtle difference between the male and female green-banded swallowtail. Here, a male is courting with a feeding female. bush kite is a large endemic forest-dwelling swallowtail, seen cruising high in the forest canopy and particularly fond of red-coloured flowers. Male mocha swallowtails are cream in colour, with long tail extensions to the hindwings. Brilliant turquoise flashes of striped and mamba swordtails dart through the undergrowth at high speed, briefly settling to feed on flowers. The veined and white lady swordtails lack the namesake tail projections. The moth-like group of skippers is the final butterfly family. With antennae more tapered and wide set than other butterflies, they typically settle with their wings open or flat and have hairy bodies. This male gold-spotted sylph releases pheromones into the air to attract females. Territorial clouded foresters settle on higher branches and leaves, ready to chase any intruders. Many skipper species rely on camouflage to avoid detection. Butterflies have many enemies. Birds and spiders pose the biggest constant threats to the adult butterfly. A veined swordtail struggles to free itself from the web of a kite spider. The web is too strong. Ultimately, it's man who has the final say in the survival of butterflies. Expanding agricultural monocultures, conversion of grasslands to timber plantations, and rapid urbanization threaten South Africa's rich butterfly diversity. Drowning into just a couple of tiny isolated fragments of suitable habitat left in the world, the vulnerable Kark-Loof blue hovers precariously on the edge of extinction. Butterflies are fragile indicators of biodiversity. Their struggles to survive are warnings about our environment. The disappearance of butterflies is more serious than just a loss of colour in the countryside. It's a loss of part of who we really are. A part of life on Earth.